We're back with a new season of My Parents' Basement. I'm Anthony Trombetta, the host of the show. As you can see, we're in a new location. Isn't this nice? The smell of deep fried goods in the air. Hey, smell it, Chris.
Delicious.
I got my old compadre here, Chris Ford, and we also have a new format. We are still in a basement, but now we're having a more informal chat with some other folks who are into the geek culture as well. I have the Parsons right over here, Dustin and Addam. Dustin, introduce yourself and tell a little something about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Dustin Parsons. I've done my fair share of talking about comic books in basements and, you know, general movie knowledge, video games, mainly old school stuff, but yeah, you know. So
and you got a Black Panther
and
t-shirt.
Black Panther t-shirt, which actually courtesy of him. He made this ring.
Yeah, that was actually, handmade that shirt as a gift.
And yeah.
Because you know what, they just don't make a good Black Panther shirt already. So if you want to represent the tier 3 characters, you gotta go your way.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, anyone can get an Iron Man shirt, but a Black Panther shirt
that's
is a little harder.
That's a more deep cut, you know.
Exactly.
So, Addam, is there any particular geek culture you love in particular?
Geek culture? Oh, I remember my mom stealing a Cable comic from me when I was a kid because it was too violent. It held on top of the fridge, and I think ever since that moment, I knew I wanted to read comics a hell of a lot. So, yeah, that was a profound memory. That started from that issue on. I mean, I've been reading comics forever, whether it was comic books, anime, you know,
Calvin and Hobbes,
the funnies, the newspapers. So, and then the movies. Now we got comic book movies coming out left and right, and I couldn't be more excited about that. And yeah, I spent all my time on the forums doing this research, and it's nice to have a place to talk about it. People actually care.
Absolutely, that's what we're here about. Chris Ford, do you want to lay down a nerdy card for everybody?
I love Spider-Man more than I should.
I feel that.
I think that
it's unnatural, but
I don't know. An unnatural love to a character like
Spider-Man.
There's so many Spider-Man lovers out there. You're gonna have to take it to a whole new level to get unnatural, I think, nowadays. So I don't know. I think it's a very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, we got to get rolling here. We got a lot to talk about. I'm Anthony Trombetta, and I think Babylon 5 is better than Star Trek. Snap. There. I put that down. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about probably the biggest event of the summer, Comic-Con. And before we get into that, I just want to say a huge thanks to our new location, Titan Gaming, right here in Whitehorse. Nice and indoors. We're surrounded by games and comic books and computers. And the smell of fried foods and energy drinks, which is pretty awesome. So I think...
And technically, we're still in a basement.
We're in a basement. And that's the key part of My Parents' Basement. So let's talk about Comic-Con. This is the huge Christmas time for nerds. And it's just been rolling and rolling, like about 130,000 attendees alone. And obviously, the big companies out there have noticed.
Yeah.
And the big thing about it this year is, in particular, the movies. And I think we could probably all agree the winner in this category is Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh,
man, do they ever have some stuff out.
Holding it down.
Yeah. I like I said, I mean, we got Marvel who are about to put Rocket Raccoon on screen and Drax the Destroyer. And like these characters that 2 years ago, I mean, nobody would have ever thought you're going to see them on the big screen. And we got DC on the other end, and they're still struggling to get Wonder Woman out. And, you know, they have to put Superman in a Batman movie to get people to, you know, just to see a DC movie. I mean, it's a little funny. Whereas I think Marvel are embracing the fact that these movies are comic books. And then you got Man of Steel. I mean, they're not even going to call him Superman. They're afraid to call him Superman. So it's, you know, I think Marvel will understand that, you know what? We're going to do these comic books the way they've been written because people have loved them for 70 how many years now. And yeah, so it's great to see they're actually just translating the source material and they're doing it well.
Yeah, well, I mean,
labor of love.
All the announcements that were there they're all sequels. Yeah. Like there's obviously they're cooking with gas, well, other than Guardians of the Galaxy, but everything's a sequel. The big one. Let's talk about the big one. Avengers 2.
Rise of Ultron. Age, not Rise.
Anybody got a brief description? Who's Ultron?
Ultron, if anyone's not familiar with Ultron, he was originally in the comics created by Ant-Man
Hank
Pym, to be a sort of a peacekeeping robot force. However, the robot becomes sentient sees all the flaws in humanity, sort of a Terminator-style thing, and decides he's going to take his vengeance out on the Avengers and all of humanity for the wrongs they do. So yeah, it's a very much a technology coming to life sort of. You know, and I think with the day and age we live in, with everyone's got a computer in their pocket now, it's a little scary. We are really trusting of technology, so it's an appropriate theme, I'd say, definitely right now to have technology fight back. And the idea of a computer getting sentient, I mean, how many times are you swearing at your computer, bashing on your keys?
Oh, yeah.
And then it brings up...
If it could feel, it would probably hate you back. So it's definitely an appropriate idea.
And then the whole theory that everyone's like, oh, Ant-Man's not here. How are we going to get Ultron created?
Yeah, that's
Who's
the
gonna
thing.
make
So
And then they're saying...
they're changing it for the movie.
Yeah, and that's the idea. And then there's the whole theory of Jarvis is going to make Ultron or become Ultron, or Tony Stark created him somehow.
Yeah, I think they've officially
Not a bad
sort of
idea.
come saying that it's going to be from Tony Stark's creation. And if you go back, you watch the Marvel movies, you can see little seeds being
that's
planted
true.
in a character like Jarvis, his AI unit in his suit. You know, he'll mouth off to him. He gets a little personal with him. And again, like I was saying, if a computer is designed to be as advanced as, say, Jarvis, a computer that can obviously hear tone of voice, recognize human emotions, have a conversation with you, it's going to learn what's an insult and what's a compliment. You know, it's going to figure those things out. So seeds have been planted already for Jarvis to maybe just turn and become, you know, an evil Ultron robot original, and then of course maybe Tony Stark will build, you know, the last movie he was building drone robots. Maybe he's got a drone robot that turns into Ultron. There's a lot of ways they could go with it, and Joss Whedon says he's going to take a little bit of artistic license with it, and I trust him. I mean, he's done awesome with the movies so far.
Exciting thing about Ultron, maybe exciting, maybe not. Just today they announced that what's his
James
name?
Spader.
James Spader. Yes, James Spader is going to be cast as Ultron.
That was just
which is totally out of left field. Who
Yeah.
saw that coming? Like, this is the guy. This is the nerdy guy from Stargate.
Well,
and
James Spader, he has a lot of experience in the '80s movies playing the bad guy.
Touche.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And yeah, you know what? 80s movies were notorious for the villains, so maybe it's kind of a throwback.
If he could threaten Molly Ringwald, he could threaten the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly.
Touche.
And,
I mean, like, he's going to have the suit on, sort of, anyway, so it's like, how much of him are we getting? How much of it's going to be?
A lot of stuff.
We've already seen now, I think, with the Amazing Spider-Man trailer, Electro having that cool voice and things like that, so they're going to be using an actor, and then obviously these CG effects, these, you know, new voice captures,
Modifying.
all these effects, and all these different little trickery and wizardry. So it's going to be neat. We're going to get a computer acting thing, and then we're going to get a real actor, and it'll be neat to see, And Ultron is going to translate, I think, really, really well in today's, like, with all the CG and all the technology we have. Ultron's going to look killer, I think.
I think the other big announcement that a lot of people are talking about, the introduction of 2 new characters, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch.
I'm very excited with this. I've stood by Scarlet Witch's side despite all the bad rap she's gotten in comics lately. You know what, House of M, she was mental. That's what I gotta say. I'll hold that. But I'm excited to see it. You know, we got Aaron Johnson Taylor from Kick-Ass being rumored for Quicksilver, and just recently, Elizabeth Olsen, the youngest Olsen twin, or not twin, I suppose, sister.
Right.
She's been announced to be the new look for Scarlet Witch. So
I don't know if it's confirmed
it's
yet.
not confirmed, but they were throwing around
Allegedly.
the girl from The Host. You know, the main actress there. I can't remember her name. She was kind of rumored for a bit, but now it looks like they're settling for at least Aaron Johnson Taylor and Elizabeth Olsen, which I think. Good picks for sure, and Aaron Johnson Taylor proved himself in Kick-Ass. He can do a young superhero very well. Yeah. So, and they're going to probably start as villains, is my prediction, and then they're going to be swooned to join the Avengers. Come up, you know.
I'm just. I hope they don't play up the Ultimates version of Scarlet Witch.
Yes, there's been this rumor of the incest.
They were a little closer than they should have been.
There is. You can't avoid. Yeah, with the Ultimate Comics taking that route was definitely an alternative choice for the comic. I don't think there's going to be any sort of incest or nothing along the lines. I think we're going to see a character like Quicksilver who really does care about his sister and wants to protect her, but it's not going to go much further than that. Plus, I mean, God, they're going to be introducing, Ultron on its own. They're going to be introducing other characters. They got a lot to work with. So I think keeping it short and sweet will be better for these 2 new characters.
Yeah, we'll see. This is very exciting. We're all going to line up for it. That's a guarantee. Another big sequel we have going on, the X-Men. Holy Days of Future Past. It was one of the most iconic storylines in the comic books. And now they're putting it onto the screen. Do you think this is going to be like, because this is a mess of storylines,
It is, and
time
they're
travel,
trying to keep the
and
old X-Men characters
every single
related.
mutant onto the screen. Do you think it's
Yeah,
going to be like a
it's-
little bit of a mess for like a casual viewer?
If they treat it like an ensemble cast and not try to make it all about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine or
Yeah.
anything like that, we might actually have a really good shot
They're
at it.
already doing that though. Originally it was Kitty Pryde who went back in
Exactly.
time. Now it's gonna
I
be
heard about the
Wolverine.
change of taking Kitty Pryde as a secondary character and making Wolverine the time traveler. Makes sense. Most of the audience aren't really going to be familiar with a character like Kitty Pryde. So
Ellen Page though.
yeah, I mean, she did a great job in the movies, and she will still be reprising the role. So I think it'll be good to see how they incorporate Kitty Pryde. But it makes sense using the biggest, most marketable X-Men to kind of do them. If he's going to do all that action, people are going to want to see Wolverine as opposed to a character they don't know as much about.
Yeah, and Sentinels.
And Sentinels.
Yeah.
Sentinels.
And they're
Look
purple
actually
this time.
pretty
still.
cool.
It's
Purple
great.
Sentinels
Yeah.
stomping
Awesome.
around.
Yeah,
I was nervous. I thought they might make them look all way too modern, but I don't know. I thought it was...
Some people are saying they're not tall enough, but I think if we're going to put them on screen, they got to at least be able to fit in the same lens as Wolverine and all these other characters.
Yeah.
And I hope we get the classic vaporization scene. I'm hoping to see Wolverine get turned into nothing but adamantium. I think that would just right off the page, put it on the screen would look amazing.
Yeah.
With Days of Futures Past, they are taking a beloved story and they're finally adapting it to a movie. I think taking story arcs like that is a great way to take movies and make them into sequels and keep upping the stakes because they've done it in comics for so many years. So yeah, there would be no problem with doing an homage like zapping them with the big tensor ray or whatever it's called.
So there's a lot to gamble on this one. A lot of balls in the air with Days of Future Past. Now let's talk about the other big announcement. This one seems like way out of left field. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty
Someone
sure
want to field
lots of
Guardian?
people-
Anybody have a quick rundown of who the
they're-
Guardians of the Galaxy
They're
are?
like a team that basically polices space, and they're like a total ragtag team. One's a talking raccoon, one's a giant tree
Yeah.
who can only say one thing. There's a green chick, and there's an Earthman who's basically just
Batista.
kicking
as
butt.
a
I've always
green
described
monster.
the Guardians of the Galaxy almost like a weird space B-movie A-team almost. Like they're just
Kinda, sorta.
this total ragtag bunch, and then that's going
If
to be
you can
something
find them.
they're definitely
Yeah.
looking to play up in the movie is how they got put in a situation together and made the best of it. And yeah, the Avengers, they came together for an epic reason and they have all this serious stuff. Whereas Guardians, it's an introductory movie. We're gonna just see them kind of play around, screw around
It's
a
gonna
little
sort
bit.
of happen.
It's very, I don't know.
And-
It seems like it's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah, I
I
see
see
the
it, but
cast
at the same
is
time, it could
ridiculous.
also...
Yeah, I was gonna say like the names we're listing for this
Glenn
movie.
Close is in this.
Yeah,
Glenn
I mean,
Close-
Chris Pratt as like the lead.
Yeah, Chris
role,
Pratt
which-
from Parks and
which,
Rec
I mean,
taking
I
the
like.
lead.
'cause I
That's
like
a
Chris
great
Pratt.
idea.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
going to be in it as the collector. We
Collector.
have, John C. Reilly playing, leader of the Nova Corps. We're gonna see all kinds of big names in this movie, and James Gunn directing it. He did a great job with Super and other great movies
Yeah.
like that. So I think he's got the firepower to make.
he can do
from
wacky.
Walking Dead is in it. Too.
Yeah, just every
gonna have
day
a
you
mohawk.
see some new great actor being added to this movie. It's got a lot of firepower. I mean, if it flops, it might hurt Marvel, but I don't know. I think it's just so different that people are going to see it even if they don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think the star power does certainly help.
Yeah.
A lot of big name actors are getting into this superhero game. Because let's talk quickly about Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh yes.
Like at first, I heard Paul Giamatti is going to be the
Yeah,
Rhino,
no.
and I was like,
That
what?
almost
What are you
sounds like a
talking
joke.
about?
and then
but-
they throw the head tattoo on him, and then he's in like the weird.
But
mech
then it was
suit,
like, he's one of my
apparently.
favorite actors. I think he's an incredible actor. so,
He's,
I mean,
Totally.
he's definitely got the range to do,
And then,
every,
I mean-
even Emmy award-winning, type
He's
small
great
screen
when he's
dramatic
angry.
diplomacy.
I love him when he's angry.
Yeah,
True,
like,
I mean, the
he's-
Rhino's mainly angry, so
Yeah,
might
I'd
work
be
out.
interested to see how they make him the Rhino. Is it going to
I'm
be a mech
curious
suit?
if he's even gonna be
Is
in a
it-
suit in the movie.
Yeah.
He could just be like a Russian gangster
Yeah,
called the
I
Rhino.
heard
don't
they
know.
might
True,
just,
yeah, they
yeah,
might
he
go
might
that
just
route.
make him a gangster who drives trucks through a wall, and that's where he gets the nickname the Rhino. But we've also seen a few set photos of him looking like he's in motion cap gear, so we don't know. We don't know yet. It's going to be a surprise for everybody.
Interesting.
And then Jimmy Fox.
Jamie
Foxx.
Initially, some people were all like, "Oh, I don't know," but I don't know.
into this.
I'm in.
Are you into the
And then
new
they
costume?
released the
you
little.
don't miss the giant
Yeah,
piece?
Maybe a
starfish
homage.
head?
I would have had
Spider-Man.
respect for anyone trying to take that old green and yellow costume and put it on the screen. It would have been an attempt, but probably still a tough sell. Going with the
I
ultimate
mean, it's
Electro
almost
look.
like the ultimate style Electro, where he's all kind of.
And that makes sense. If he's got electricity
Elect-
flowing through his body, I mean, you'd see it. You'd see it under his skin. You'd
And
hear it in his
plus
voice.
they redesigned the costume too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
That's
then the
what's so much
Spider-Man
better.
costume.
The eyes
yeah.
are finally right.
Yes.
I think it has a good continuity sense too, because the first movie, you know, where's
He
a kid?
technically makes it himself.
Yeah, where's a kid gonna
which
get a
is a little
suit like that?
unbelievable because it's really nice looking, but
So
I mean
he-
the
yeah, so-
sunglass lenses and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess.
So yeah, it looks like he took some Oakleys and made a mask with that almost. But now it seems he's been Spider-Man a couple years. He's got his shit together. He's got his suit ready to go, and yeah.
So Marvel came there, Comic-Con. They had a big sack full of goodies.
Yeah.
DC had one goodie, but it was a big
It was
one.
a big,
Yeah.
definitely a juicy
Man
piece
of Steel 2 is coming. Batman versus Superman.
Superman. Yeah, the whole.
Like, I'll give you my opinion. I didn't
Yeah.
like Man of Steel.
I'll agree.
I
I'll
hated
agree.
it. I didn't
I've
think
yet
it was
to
like
see
it was
it,
watching.
but-
They could have called it, may as well called it Superior or Ultimate Superman or
Yeah.
something. I didn't like the movie whatsoever, so I'm not looking forward to this.
Yeah, and somehow Batman's supposed to save this movie.
Yeah,
maybe?
somehow. I
don't
do
know.
like that that Bale is done being Batman. I was
Yeah.
not a fan of Christian
Yeah,
Bale at all.
I'm with you as well. I felt, yeah, he was a little regular. He didn't bring a special flavor to either side of the character. He was there. He did well. He wasn't a bad actor at it, but I don't know. I didn't think he brought certain.
Didn't embody Bruce Wayne like you want.
Well, so
Yeah,
now
he
we
wasn't
have
a million.
the big,
Yeah.
the big news, Ben Affleck, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, of
Which-
course. The internet it almost fell apart with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
that
yeah,
announcement.
yeah.
People
Exploded.
lost it.
Yeah,
But I mean, hey, Ben Affleck's doing great these days.
Well,
Like,
yeah, like-
let's Daredevil. It was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
We
we can let
can't
it. We can let it
blame
up.
one
Let's- yeah,
actor
yeah.
for tanking a movie.
Let's
either.
move on from
I
Daredevil.
think he did the best with what he had.
Yeah.
Also,
Exactly.
what other superhero movies at the time of Daredevil were really that much better? I mean, come on, you got to
Ghost
look.
Rider.
It was
Yeah.
like
Fantastic Four,
you had
like,
it.
you know,
They were
it's-
just starting to get their feet wet in the superhero movie business, so of course they're not going to knock him out of
You
the
know
park
what
the
it was?
first try.
Disney hadn't entered the game yet. That's what it was.
Yeah, I think now
Or
with
at least
Marvel
they actually
having
decided,
Disney,
hey, why don't we hire comic book writers to write these, not just random
or
directors. and
using like
writers
with
and-
Days of Futures Past, using actual comic book stories to make a movie, as opposed to just getting some director to completely rewrite it.
The good things about this, they get another shot. Somebody gets another shot at trying out Bruce Wayne and Batman.
is good.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Another shot at making that costume work.
Yeah.
Good
not
lord.
making like the awkward face count.
Other
Yeah.
than
puffy, yeah, and he's
stiff
all
body
robo.
armor, just make it a guy in spandex.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah,
I
what's
want
wrong
to
with
see.
the gray and black?
Yeah,
Like,
I
Ben
think-
Affleck just got to hit the gym. He's got to be like huge jacked man
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and it should work out fine. And the other good thing, we're on the road to the Justice League movies.
yes, hopefully.
Yes.
Finally.
The pieces are falling into
this
place.
will be
It's
something
true.
to see. I mean, yeah, we have Avengers, which are already right out the gate, but now Justice League movies have a chance to do what the Avengers movie haven't done yet. They can take a little more serious route, as DC's sort of been doing with Man of Steel, with The Dark Knight. And yeah, a Justice League movie could really take a serious, in-depth look. I mean, you could do something almost like Kingdom Come if you
Yeah,
really
yeah.
had the the
Oh,
gusto.
yeah. Quite
And then
something.
you take a really dark, very serious look at the superhero world. Whereas Avengers, they're going to be Hawkeye's cracking a joke,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Iron
they go-
Man's
it's
always
Disney,
got his
they got
wit.
a family
And yeah,
there.
like the Avengers are going to be family friendly and sell the toys, but Justice League might have a chance to just be a serious piece of art.
If
Which would
they
be
can
ve-
do
if
Wonder
they
Woman
can
right.
get their
Yeah.
everything
They
off the
don't
ground. If
screw
we
it
can get
up.
Wonder Woman off the ground, we can get Flash off the ground, we can get Martian Manhunter in the mix. We might have a shot at this, but
I would
it's
appreciate
a lot
some
of work
Martian
for them to do.
Manhunter.
It
still.
is.
Definitely.
I've been a DC guy like for a long, long time,
Yeah.
over 20 years. I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
And I mean, you
hopefully.
got to remember, there was a point when Marvel, I mean, the only movies they had to their name were that 1990s Captain America piece of trash and the
Yeah.
Roger Corman Fantastic Four that never even got aired.
Yeah.
So DC at one point was killing it. I mean, they were putting out the big budget Batman movies, and they had the Superman movies with Christopher Reeve in the 70s, and so DC had their kind of golden era of movies as well. So maybe it's Marvel's turn, and then Marvel might eventually go back into the shadows, and DC has a chance to come out. And if it's a long enough time, DC can carefully prepare this Justice League movie and
Yeah.
release it just when it's going to be right. Granted, people don't get sick of the superhero movies coming out. I mean, there is a lot.
That's the thing. But the good news is there is a lot to look forward to. We're very
Exactly.
excited about all these releases here.
Yeah.
So that's our rundown of the big Comic-Con movies there. There's a lot to look forward to. We're going to be spending a lot of time in the lineups in the movies. I'll tell you that much. I'm going to be spending a lot of money on popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it, though, because I'm very, very excited. That's our rundown on Comic-Con movies. Coming up, Comic-Con TV.
Best defense against walkers. I'm the cook.
Well, movies were certainly huge at Comic-Con, but another big segment was TV. A lot of big announcements. And Chris, let's talk about Walking Dead Season 4. Now, the last season, Season 3, was definitely an improvement on Season 2, right? That whole farm thing.
The pacing of season 3 was so more, like, it was fast, it was exciting, no lulls. You're right. Season 2 was kind of slow.
It was slow. So now, 3 ramp things up. We had the governor. We had all that stuff. So now they're in the prison. What are you looking forward to season 4?
I'm looking forward to introducing a few more characters because they did get a whole bunch of like the Woodbury people to come in. So there's going to be that factor. I'm interested to see what they do with the governor. Like the difference between this show and the comics, it's just more and more differences as they go. And as someone who read the comics, like I love it because I have no idea what's going to happen. The governor should be dead, but he's not. And so is he coming back? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things up in the air, and like the comics don't necessarily match the TV show right now, which is fine. That's no big sweat. You know, people have some issues with it, but I can separate the two things.
It was a question I always had. I'd seen the first few episodes of The Walking Dead, and they seemed pretty close to the first volume that I'd read. And I'd always wondered if it stayed in the vein or if it veered off, because you know you have things like Game of Thrones where people they know what to expect because they've read the books. So if it's already the story's already out there, what's the point of keeping the suspense for another season if they already know what's going to happen? You know. So yeah, there's kind of the question of whether rewriting it's worth it or not.
Well, the current comics now, it's just so. I don't think they could really put it on TV. It's pretty dark.
I'm not even caught up. So.
Oh, it's like I don't know if I could put that.
That's the comics where they got to be the more graphic side.
Yeah.
And then
Graphic
that's nice
novel.
if you have read the comics, then you can kind of
Like
actually
so far,
enjoy
the
show,
broad strokes have been the same. It's just been like things have
Details.
shuffled around a little bit, but
Yeah, I think they're getting the hang of the thing that we want to see, as geeks. We want to see dead people walking around. We want to see zombies.
Yeah, getting shot in the
we
head.
want to
and all
see
that
fights.
good
We
stuff.
want to see swords. Michonne was awesome.
Yeah.
When it started off, I was a little, I don't know, and then by the end of it, I was like, this chick is badass.
So it looks like I think maybe in the 4th season they're really hitting their stride. I think so.
It's more
Pretty
popular than
interesting.
ever. I mean, you got housewives watching Walking Dead now. I mean, we're at a point now where you got comic books being put on TV, and everyone can see, a great story that was originally previously available to just people who hung out in comic book stores, and it's interesting. We got just a huge amount of nerd culture being injected into just pop culture. So
That's actually an awesome segue into the other big announcement that they had.
of course.
Comic books on TV, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
on like network.
Yeah,
How
this is
awesome
like the
is that?
first time since the Hulk show that
Yeah.
they did with Lou Ferrigno
Yeah,
or something.
I
I think this is the
probably.
first time Marvel's had a shot at being on TV. Yeah, since we had Lou Ferrigno suiting up with the green body paint, for sure. And it's exciting because they're not telling us superhero stories. We're telling human stories in a superhero world. It's going to be about the agents. Joss Whedon stressed this a lot about how he's got a great cast. That's an ensemble cast he wants to work with. And we all know Joss Whedon does great jobs with Buffy and with Firefly. So
knows TV.
yeah, he knows his TV. I think this is, and we have a fan favorite. Clark Gregg returning as Phil Coulson. So he's not dead. So everyone's
which
happy.
you could have kind of predicted if you really paid attention, but some people were surprised. I
Yeah,
think,
and he's
but-
officially back now.
is good
And,
news.
Yeah, he's running this whole new bunch of characters. Are we going to see these characters in the movie? Are we going to see any movie characters in the show? There's a lot of questions to be
any
answered here.
superheroes? We're going to see
Yeah.
any of the Marvel
There's like
characters
rumors
in
of
there?
Luke Cage was supposed to be in there, but then
Yeah,
just
yeah.
confirmed.
Yeah,
all
I-
this different-
supposedly Kobe Smulders will be in the premiere as Maria
Yeah,
Hill,
playing Maria
just
Hill.
like in the Avengers.
Yes.
So there'll be the tie-in, and maybe we'll get a great season-ending feature of Sam Jackson coming in doing a Nick Fury, just the eye patch or something, just a little quick flash to tie the movies in with the show, and this will be a great way for them to explain all those things that you just don't have time for in the movies. Like what happened to New York after it got destroyed? Who's going to fix that? Who's going to do Who's going to do it? Yeah, exactly. We're the crime scene investigators. Like this show can deal with the real world repercussions where the superhero movies can just be super.
Yeah. So now, while I know we're all excited to see this show, like, do you have any worries? Because you're looking at Firefly
Yeah.
and Dollhouse didn't work, like really high, awesome concepts,
But
they
we're canceled.
yeah, but we're
Yeah, and
canceled.
that's the fear. Yeah, I mean, like it is sort of a weird premise. I mean, some people, but I think everybody now is on the Marvel train. The movies are really getting everybody excited about the source material.
bullet train.
And then this is all cool because this is going to show us S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a really cool
Yeah.
part of Marvel that a lot of people don't know about. So it's like the whole, we police the superheroes in a weird sort of way.
yeah, maybe they'd sell it like a cop show.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
The
Spidey
West
culture.
Wing and The Wire have all done so well. So why can't we do a West Wing and Wire that exists in a superhero world?
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
like you can only have a serial killer kill a young teenage girl so many times before you're like, come on.
it's
But
boring.
if the Hulk accidentally squished somebody with a car when he hucked it 30 feet, there's a great episode right there, Joss.
Yeah, a little Law and Order Gotham or something.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
there
be
we
so
go.
bad at
Yeah,
all.
it's a great idea. I'm really excited for it. It's premiering soon, I believe. So
Soon, this fall.
This fall on
Check it out.
ABC.
they're very clear about.
Now,
the
there's
date.
one show they talked about at Comic-Con, which is kind of interesting because it's not really immersed
Not
in geek
particularly.
culture at all. It's just, it's so good.
and
My
so
honest
big.
opinion, it is such a good show. Everybody's hooked into it. We're talking about Breaking Bad, which was they had a fun panel. Do you want to do, what happened at the panel there, Bryan Cranston?
Right, he walked around Comic-Con wearing a mask of himself so that no one knew who he was and he could observe everything. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it
It's
was like a
pretty
Walter
sneaky.
White mask. Then ripped it off and it was like, hey, it's Bryan Cranston. So, whoa, boy, oh boy. We're already a few seasons into the last final shows of the season, and this whole show has been like, they can't possibly ramp it up more. They can't possibly ramp it up more.
so tense.
And then they do, and now we're just at the point, like, I'm biting my fingernails to the quick. It's ridiculous.
I can't wait. Like, I know it's only 5 more weeks till the end. I'm going nuts. This is one of the greatest shows I've ever watched.
I think it's
feel.
appropriate that a show about crystal meth has the entire world hooked like crystal meth. You know, you got people who are they're up all
It's
night, they're
addictive.
getting sweaty,
Yeah.
they're getting the withdrawals. It's got it's about drugs and it's got this almost drug-like addiction to it. You know,
That's how well they've written it. To
I
the
know-
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
I know friends who started season 1 and that was it. Every season was watched
they're
that
like, I
night.
take the
They
week
didn't
off
sleep.
work.
You know,
You know,
I just think the best thing about it is the transformation of this man. This mild-mannered, average. It could have been
And then
anybody.
there's
and
the
just
funny-
this person inside him comes out
Yeah.
and it's a monster.
totally. And then I heard a funny theory on the internet. Everyone said that their prediction for the end of Breaking Bad is you see him go to witness protection program, and then in the middle starts. He's the dad. You know?
I heard that.
Which
That's
is
awesome.
that's kind of a funny
like it.
theory.
you know
yeah.
what? If they can jump the shark enough, you know,
Hey,
who
maybe.
knows?
Well, the
beloved
mother
series.
from Malcolm in the Middle is going to be guest starring in one of the
Oh,
episodes coming up
interesting.
soon.
Oh,
no kidding.
that's fun.
Yeah, they
Foreshadowing.
tweeted a picture on set, so
Okay.
she's actually in it. But Chris, you have an ending prediction for Breaking Bad?
I just want Jesse to come out of it okay.
No
I
kidding,
feel like
yeah.
if there's anyone who should get a redemption, it's Jesse Pinkman. Walter has done so much dirt. There's no way he can come back to the side of light. Like the cancer's one way or another. This guy's got to die. He's just done too much.
Well, I tell you, this is going to be one of the most anticipated finales on TV since
Easily.
Dallas. You kids remember Dallas? Yeah. Anyhow, all
It's
right.
in Texas, right?
Yeah. JR, you got shot. Now the
And I
last
never figured out
the
who.
last quick TV bit we got to cover. DC came to the table. Woo! Finally with Arrow.
Right.
With Arrow, I watch it. I like the show. It's a little CW-erific.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of female fans of the show as well, and that's fine. But it's DC on TV. They name drop like crazy in that show. I mean, the first episode, you pan by and there's Deathstroke's mask on a post. I was like, oh my god!
That's the best.
Seeing
So
that
good.
in the trailer, yeah, that was really exciting. I've heard that they've already announced something like 12 characters from
Oh.
the DC continuity, if not
Yeah.
more, in
well,
the
the
show
big,
already.
The big thing, Black Canary is going to be in it.
Yes.
So Black Canary's coming in, but the Flash is going to be in a couple of episodes, which might lead to a
a
spin-off.
movie or
Yeah,
a
hopefully.
series.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't know if you guys ever saw the original Flash TV show.
Yeah, on
that was
ABC, I do remember that.
Oh, yeah, that
it was not that.
They blew
great.
their budget on the pilot, really. It was
boy.
awesome. The pilot was awesome, and then afterwards,
after
we kind of
that.
ran out of super speed effects.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I got lots of high hopes for that. So DC is doing pretty good TV-wise, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, they have Arrow. You were just saying they set up Black Canary, so there's a shot at a Birds of Prey show. Each
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They previously
You know,
attempted that at
I
one
think
point.
they did
remember,
previously,
and it
but
didn't
now,
work.
now I think it'd be a good time, and especially female superheroes. People want to see these things happen. It's not just comic book fans in their basement anymore. It's almost a worldwide phenomenon. So now you got like I was saying earlier, you got Housewives. They want to see a
The fact
female
that it's
superhero
on the
kick some ass.
CW, I mean,
Yeah.
which is not wrong. I mean, let's show more of these girls who probably never read comics before,
For
some
sure.
comic book characters. Maybe they'll pick up an issue.
Power Girl?
Yeah,
Hey, that would there you go. I just don't know if we could take that boob window seriously on TV.
That's something they'll have to work out later.
Costume department.
Tons of movies, tons of TV. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I'm going outside next year at all. Yay!
God, no.
Who needs it, man? Who needs the sunshine?
Exactly.
what's the
Up next, something else that's going to keep us in the basement. Video games. We are talking video games and the big announcements. Bit of a console war. I don't want to show my age, but I'm a veteran of the Pepsi wars in the 80s, and they were ugly. And this is going to be just as ugly. PlayStation 4, versus Xbox One. What's the controversy here with the Xbox One?
All right, well, there was a lot of stuff that they announced like right off the bat. When they first announced the system, they said it's gonna need Connect all the time, and it's gonna be on all the time. Plus, it's gonna require like an internet connection all the time. They kept wording it really carefully. They didn't want to say that, but it came out that like it was gonna have to like do checks every like half hour or something like that. And then if you were connected to the internet, you wouldn't be able to play your game anymore, even if you bought it at the store. People like just went crazy. Like nobody wants a camera watching them all the time, and people want to be able to play their games. What if you live in a cabin in a remote area? That's not fair. There's not internet connections everywhere.
Yeah, and like I remember initially when it was announced, you actually seen Xbox stocks dropped.
Yeah.
Like the stock market, they showed it, and that's
big,
how
big
little faith.
backlash.
And then they backpedaled and they wussed out and said, "Oh no, we'll make it like the PS4."
Yeah,
and,
so that's the thing. They had to backpedal on everything. So now,
which I mean, smart move sort of, but why initially make this 1984 Orwellian? We're gonna watch you all the time. Your friends' faces will be recognized. I think it was bizarre. I
even heard this Kinect camera was supposed to be so sensitive it could detect a heartbeat. It could detect your emotions. I mean, we were just talking about Ultron.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
we're not getting a little close there. It's kind of we're touching into some thin ice, I think. But yeah, they backpedaled. Now we're just getting Xbox's version of a PS4 almost, which is and then
like,
the PS4. I mean, they kind of stayed out of the news because they weren't doing this. We're gonna watch you all the time. We need to know what's going on in your life. And but now they're the top of the chain. It seems everyone's the most excited for a PS4, from what I've heard.
Sony actually had some fun too, because like Microsoft, originally they were also, another thing that they backpedaled on was, like if I had an Xbox One and I wanted to lend you my game, you would have had to have been in my friends list for like 30 days before it would accept the game that was linked to my system. And then Sony released this short little clip online, which was like, this is how we trade with the PS4. Here you go. Trade complete. It was hilarious. So they got to poke fun at Microsoft a little bit, and I bet that kind of got their goat.
Yeah.
I even heard of Reggie Fils-Aimé, the Nintendo CEO, poking a little bit of fun at both Microsoft and Sony,
saying their launch titles were And I almost agree with him a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, like there's big, like, Battlefield 4, the new Call of Duty, and Assassin's Creed. But to me, it's just kind of like, there you go. You're making another game.
Doing well.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, exactly. It's like we've already played these games. Now they're like the fourth titlements. They got like really bad. It's like Resurrection and it's Black Flag and for Assassin's Creed it was like a punk band. We're not. It's kind of weird. So
I think it's funny. And Reggie Fils-Aimé just said, don't worry about your system being good. Just make good games that people want to play.
That was his good hit.
And while Nintendo seems to always be the underdog in this new fight, you got to realize this was the company that started video gaming. These guys, they invented Nintendo. That kicked the whole thing off. And since Nintendo, they've been selling Mario, Zelda, Metroid games forever. And they're going to be selling those games when I have kids and when my kids have kids, because that's their strategy. They've always put out the games people like. They were going to do a sequel. They're not going to make it more Call of Duty just seems to be, new map packs every time.
Shinier graphics.
Whereas, Mario, they got experimental. We had Paper Mario. We had Super Mario Sunshine, where you're like cleaning. You're not beating people up. You're just cleaning mud off a wall. But it was fun. People liked the game. So Nintendo always seems like they're the underdog in this fight. But I think the console wars, you might even just leave a little room for them to sneak in and show people that they've been around for a while and they're going to be around for a while.
Be like the neutral.
I'll be getting a PS4 myself.
I would like to get a PS4.
I think
I'm a full-on convert, too.
PS4 mainly just because I haven't bought a PlayStation in a while. I feel like I just owe it to PlayStation. Like I had my 360, I like it, but even just look-wise, Xbox One is just like this.
I had a 360 for years, and that's all I had, and I swore by it. And then I finally got a PS3. And then a year went by and I realized my Xbox hadn't been plugged in since I got the PS3, and I traded it in.
I find it funny that we have a PS4, which makes chronological sense. We've had a PS1, PS2, PS3, and now we have an Xbox and a sequel to the Xbox 360 called the Xbox One. Now, we're getting into that awful sequel territory. Like, what's next? Like Xbox Resurrection? Like Xbox Extinction?
Yeah, no kidding.
Just call it the Xbox 360 or 2
or the 720
or the 720. That's what everyone thought it was going to be, the Xbox 720. They were just going to add a couple numbers. Or, Xbox 2 would even work. But Xbox One, that sounds like it's the beginning of... So I've never understood that.
I think it's supposed to be
a
a new
reboot.
beginning.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're going for.
It's Xbox's new 52, if you will.
I think the word out is basically, it looks like everyone's leaning towards PS4, and Xbox One will just see what games come out.
If they start pumping out the really good exclusive titles, but
they're both going to have GTA 5, and I think that's what's getting everybody excited the most with games right now. GTA 5, it doesn't really matter what you play it on. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, super excited for that. I love those games. Half the time I don't even play the story. I just go around driving cars and causing mayhem.
Yeah, I mean, remember when San Andreas came out, and that was like all anybody could think about. You know, like that was it. That was you go to school, and it was like, what'd you do in San Andreas last night? Well, I don't know. I drove a car, I killed a hooker, and it was just, it was awesome. It was a great time.
All I know is I'm probably going to buy a Wii U just for the new Mario Kart.
Definitely.
I already bought a Wii U.
Nice.
I feel like I got on it a little too early.
Well,
your time will come. Your time will
because
come.
A, there weren't really any games for it. Pikmin finally came out, and that game's actually kind of awesome. But B, I'm a little upset because the Wind Waker HD is coming out. I'm really happy about that because I never got to play it the first go around on the GameCube. But there's a limited edition Wii U bundled with it that's got awesome
Beautiful
decals on it,
script
and
on the
I wish
tablet.
I'd waited. What do you do?
Well, we're all excited. There's going to be new consoles for all of us under the tree this year. Yeah. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. That was video games. Up next, we're talking Comic-Con. I guess that's what it's made for. Comic books. Strangely enough, it seems like comic books are kind of on the back burner of Comic-Con. Everything else kind of took over. But there were two big announcements at Comic-Con. Number with the big thing coming up is Superman's 75th anniversary. And so everybody came together. They had like Jim Lee, Grant Morrison, Dan Jurgens, Paul Levitz. They were all there talking about Superman and kind of. They're going to be making a big book, 75th anniversary edition, looking at the history of Superman. And at the same time, we got this new version of Superman, right? So trying to marry all this together. I'm not so sure it's going to work.
It's a lot of years of Superman to try to put together. It's been 75 years since the two Canadian fellows came up with the concept, and I don't know. Superman's one of those characters. He's going to be timeless, whether you like it or not. But he doesn't always seem to resonate with his time. I mean, he's kind of looked like a Boy Scout, an all-American type hero. But I don't know. I think he just needs some reimagining to see how he actually is a relevant character, no matter what decade he's in.
And the 75 years of storyline is convoluted. I mean, they had that really bad
Golden Age Superman was awesome. He was throwing planets at the Spectre.
Yeah, telling Jimmy that he's a failure as a human. He's just like
there's some great old Superman for sure. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Grant Morrison. He killed it on his last Superman run. Yeah. And so I think handing a book over to a guy like that, he knows what to do with the character for nowadays. I think that's important.
All-Star Superman.
All-Star Superman.
It was fantastic. It was killer, and it was short. It was sweet. It was perfect. We need more Superman stories like that, and less of he's a golden god, and we need it's showing how he feels about his situation, and less about how everyone reacts to him.
Put some emotion in.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about this new 52 Superman, because it's Superman. He's only been on the scene for 5 years. He's new and he's rough and he's tumble and. It's just if you get rid of everything that is Superman, what's the point? It's going to take you can't wait. I can't wait 50 years for you to build up this legacy here. The thing about Superman is that he's he's the superhero. Yeah. He's the ultimate superhero.
Yeah. And you have a character like Superman who's, in terms of comic books, there's almost nobody more overpowered than he is. I mean, he's essentially limitless. So you got to find writers who can utilize that. You can play with the idea that he doesn't know how much power he's really capable of, and maybe he hurts people he's not trying to hurt because he doesn't know the strength, his capabilities. So he's a very interesting character. I'd like to see more people take him from his perspective, from his human element. He did raised by humans. He knows the emotions. He knows the traits. So it's an alien trying to fit in with this world with that much power. That's a really great thing to touch upon.
Oh, I don't know if you ever saw the Justice League animated, the last episode, Destroyer, where he's fighting Darkseid. He has this great speech at the end where he says, "I feel like I'm constantly walking in a world made of cardboard. I'm always having to hold back. But now I finally have someone where I can just cut loose."
And tying that in with the idea of a Justice League movie, I think that's a great thing to mention. We're going to need a hero, or like Superman, to fight a villain who's actually going to be able to compete with him. He snaps Zod's neck, and that was pretty simple for him to do. It's not really a threat if he can just crack somebody down that easy. We need a threat. We need a Darkseid, or we need somebody who can really bring a threat to Superman and knock him down. I mean, who knows? We could even see the Doomsday, the death of Superman. Wouldn't that be a great thing to adapt to film? And yeah, and then that would give it, another shot to have another person take on the cape, or maybe see a Superboy movie. DC could really get into their great legacy and their history if they wanted. Same way Marvel's been doing it.
75 years of storylines and stuff to play with. That's a huge playground. Another guy with a huge playground. This guy is pretty much on every single Marvel comic. If he's not in the title, he's right behind. He's everywhere. This guy. They announced Wolverine Origin 2. Wolverine Origin was the 2001 miniseries that kind of depicted his secret beginnings and also showed his little stint in the Yukon.
Yeah.
That's right. He's a homeboy for us. He stays on our turf and. Yeah, I've always loved that he stayed connected with his Canadian roots. We need somebody. Alpha Flight, they're cool and all, but we need our own big superhero.
That's
exactly. Yes, he's an Albertan. A rough and tumble little Albertan with claws. But now they think. I feel like Wolverine is kind of used out, but the idea with this Origin 2 is that there's still some gaps in his early timeline because he's lived for hundreds of years. So
I feel like they might be cramming a little too much.
Well, that's the thing. Do you think there's gas in that?
Yeah,
it's possible. You got a character like him. He's been alive for so long in continuity that you really, you could write a whole story about just what he did in one day, because it could be any day. He's been alive since apparently the 1700s or something now in this series. So giving him such a large origin makes sense because you have the time frame to do it. But is Wolverine a character we're kind of tired of? I think, he's been really milked in Marvel lately. He's in just about every book. He teams up with just about everyone, despite his lone wolf status. Yeah. He seems to really love helping out with every other superhero asks.
He's running the school.
Yeah, he's got kids in there. Like, is he really the best role model for a bunch of kids?
When they first announced the original Origin series, I was actually I was kind of disappointed in a way, because growing up as a kid, everything I knew about Wolverine was mystery. And that was kind of what made him awesome. And then when they okay, well, let's remove that and explain everything. And I read it, and it was cool, but at the same time, I sort of felt like it stole part of what made him great. Yeah, the fact that he didn't know who he was. You know?
And yeah, you get that great characterization of anybody could write a story for his origin if you haven't revealed it yet. If you have all this backstory of Wolverine that nobody knows about, it gives you, a writer a chance to just go, well, what was he doing, in this era, and pen a little story there. So now you have a character that he can pop up in any timeline, any decade. He can be relevant in the 60s, he can be relevant in the future. Because if he's going to live essentially almost forever, it's a great amount of time to write a character. He can go on forever essentially with that.
Well, it seems like they're going to with the movies and this series here. There's nothing you're not going to know about the guy. He's going to be all out there.
I guess everybody does love Canadians.
Yeah. And Yukoners.
Yeah.
Do you think an Alpha Flight movie will be down the line?
And Guardians of the Galaxy happen.
You never know.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Why not the
So,
Canadians?
why not Alpha Flight? Let's see the puck. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, well, that's it for comic books, and that kind of wraps up our whole Comic Con coverage here on My Parents' Basement. Before we head out of here, why not a little quick round table out of everything we talked about? Dustin, what are you most excited about?
Most excited about probably, obviously, Avengers 2. Personally, very excited for Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love the first one. I just want to see where they're going. I'm sick of the origins. I need, real stories. And then Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm just interested. I want to know what it's going to be like. So that's probably my most hyped.
Adam?
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's going to be excited about Avengers. And I was super excited to hear that they were doing Ultron. He's been a favorite villain of mine for years. So to see how he's going to adapt to the screen, to see that characterization, if they're going to get it right, if is he going to be evil enough? Is he really going to be a threat for the Avengers? So I'm a huge Avengers guy, so I couldn't be more excited. And plus, they're putting in my favorite villain, Ultron. They're putting in my favorite character, Scarlet Witch. So it's almost like a fanboy dream for me coming true right now. So I couldn't be happier about that.
Chris, out of everything we talked about, what are you most excited for?
I'm pretty pumped for Guardians of the Galaxy. I've read a bunch of the comics in the past, but Breaking Bad, I'm on the edge of my seat. I know it's so close and it's gonna be over, but this is fantastic TV. This is some of the best television I've seen in a long time.
That's definitely one of the things I'm mostly excited for Breaking Bad as well. But just to see the Flash on TV, super speed effects.
That will be cool.
I'm praying it's gonna be good. Well, I want to thank our two special guests here, Dustin, Addam Parsons.
Thank you.
My compadre, Chris Ford, as always. I'm Anthony Trombetta, and a huge thanks to our wonderful new location right here in Titan Gaming, here in the basement in Whitehorse. This has been the new My Parents' Basement. We'll see you next time around.
You